welcome in. It is over in Columbus. Michigan wins it 13-10. It is the Michigan Football Postgame Live. There is the former Wolverine Jim Scarcelli who joins us here. Scar, a rousing victory by Michigan, not given much of a chance by many. You were one that thought that they could pull this upset. And here they are in the victory circle, winners over Ohio State, the odds-on favorite to win the national championship heading into the game.
Hey, listen, man, Danny, this is Michigan, Ohio State. And, Ohio State, they struggled against Nebraska. Nebraska had a chance to beat them at the end. And it was a perfect storm for us. I said it. We played our best football game last week. We played great defense last week. We put 50 on them. We were a solid football team last week. It took 11 games to get there. And so this was the last time Ohio State would have wanted to play us and it showed today. Okay. We weren't even perfect. We were good in a lot of ways. The Sharon Moore, I'm going to give the guy credit, man. People want to attack, but he hired Wink Martindale. Okay. And you got to start with our defense. You give that team 10 points. You give that team 10 points and with turnovers, and our defense was outstanding. I'll talk about the defense in detail in a minute. But Denny, I would love to be in that locker room right now. I'm sure there were tears before the game, and there's tears now because I've been there as a player, and they deserve this win, and they hung together, and it was a brilliant coaching performance in all phases. We left something on the table, but Kirk Campbell was good. Wink was good. Sharon Moore leading them, hiring those guys. It paid off today. We weren't perfect all year, but we damn sure will good enough today to win.
Yeah, I have to give Sharon Moore credit as well. After the Indiana game, I said that I thought this was the worst coached team that I'd ever seen. They came back and got the victory against Northwestern. I wasn't ready to, throw any parades or anything. But today, I kind of feel like, all of that is reversed, and all of the blame and all of the, if you're going to knock him and you're going to, slap him around when he has really bad games, when he comes up with a game like this, you got to credit him, and he deserves a lot of credit. Scar, Michigan only had 62 yards passing in this game. I know you thought they had a chance in this game, and you just talked about, how Nebraska played against Ohio State, how Michigan played last week. When were you in this game thinking that, all right, this is shaping up to be a Michigan kind of game?
Denny, I saw that we were moving them. We were moving their front on offense. I'll give those guys credit. They stayed disciplined with our run game. Kirk Campbell and Sharon Moore and Big Grant, we're going to try to run it still, even though it wasn't great, but we were moving it a little bit. And then our defense was sound. We stuffed their run game, Danny. I've always said, you want to beat Ohio State, you got to stop, slow down their run game, neutralize their run game. Well, the last 4 years, we neutralized it. Today, we stuffed it. We flat out stuffed their run game. They got the two big superstar running backs. They were non-factors. Our guy was tougher, better, but we neutralized their run game. We took the quarterback run game away. I think the football gods, Denny, the cold weather, I don't think those big, those superstar freak receivers wanted any part of that 30-degree weather. But I was really confident because I saw no movement on their front. They weren't moving us at all. Mason Graham, Kenny Grant were outstanding. Those guys were outstanding. Then we put Benny in there. He was outstanding. Number 8 and number 0, they were great. We're going to look at that film. Those guys were outstanding. Our two edge guys are better than their two clowns, Sawyer and Mumalawa. I'll take our two guys any day of the week, number 8 and number 0. And I'll tell you who did well in there is 42 and 91. Brandt and TJ Guy. The future looks good at that position. Our linebackers were solid, man. Number 1 is a stud. I'd like to think he comes back. 15. Hausman was good. Our linebacker play was good. Our secondary was solid and sound. Nothing over the head, Danny. What did I say? Stop the run, no bombs, and be great in the red zone. No bombs, stop the run. But Wink did a brilliant job. I got to give him credit. And go ahead, Denny, because I'll go on and on. I'm fired up over here.
Yeah, Makari Page had a big hit and a big interception. I thought early on, Amir Hall having that interception right down there at the 10-yard line was huge. And then it felt like Michigan, when you had, Orgy bust that one big run, but U of M had this great drive where they had the Bell reverse throw, and they hit O'Leary, and Warren was running, and then he hit Marlon Klein, and it just looked like that. It was just like Michigan. But, of course, that's when it came down to his 1st and goal, and it was an interception. That's where it felt like all of the air went out of the blue. They had to really regroup after that, Scar, and they obviously ended up doing that. But how about Michigan being able to pick themselves off the mat after a interception where it looks like they're going to win the game and they hadn't really done anything? They get this great drive, and then it really seemed like it was going to work against them there.
Denny, the defense responded. We got the ball right back.
Right, 3 and out. You're right.
Right back, man. That's easy to play offense when you defense puts you right back on the field. So it was a 3-headed monster kicking game, offense, defense. And we weren't perfect, but our defense enabled our offense to get right back at the field. How about our tight ends, man? How about the All-American out and 17 gets in there and makes a couple catches and blocked his butt off. And this freshman, number 80, what a future this kid's going to have. He's a good-looking athlete, tough kid.
Yeah, he was open for that touchdown. What about, you already mentioned the running game, but Khalil Mullings, 32 carries, 116 yards, and a touchdown. None bigger than when Michigan had the 3rd and 1, and he goes over the right side, busts some tackles, and ends up going for 27 yards. Obviously, that got Michigan down there where they could start leaning on the clock a little bit and leaning on Ohio State, and that set up Zavada, who probably could have kicked that field goal with his left foot.
Yeah, Danny, remember I talked about on Monday, how do we win this game? Guys got to make plays. Guys got to make plays. You're going to get an opportunity, and you got to make a play. Okay, Khalil Mullings, he will go down in history. Everybody will always remember that run. I mean, they still play the Billy Taylor run from '69, right? Don't they? They still play that
from the '70s too.
Whatever it was, they will always play the Sanistro punching that ball out. They will always play the Mullings. What a run, man! What a run. And that clown Joel, he's trying to talk about he got lucky. There ain't no luck on that. He was just better, stronger. They couldn't tackle him. Yeah, that was an opportunity to make a play. But Denny, we were the more physical team up front. Again, 4 years in a row, we moved their defensive line a hell of a lot more than they were able to move us. They had zero movement on our front. And that's about recruiting the right players. And I'm gonna give credit to Espo, our defensive line coach, because everybody that we put in there, they didn't knock us off the ball. Our adjustments were beautiful, Denny. There were a couple of things that they did offensively. They didn't fool us on nothing. And let me also say this. Our offensive coaches, Kirk and the crew, that we did some different things. We had some formations we haven't seen all year. We had some schemes we hadn't done all year. And it fooled them a little bit. It gave our guys an advantage. I said that was going to be a factor, that our coordinators had to be better than their coordinators to give our players a chance. And I think that was the case today. I think Wink outcoached Knowles, and I think Kirk Campbell outcoached Chip Kelly. I firmly believe that because, listen, Denny, I'm gonna just say our quarterback we won the game. He was not great. And I'm gonna take a shot. I'm going to take a shot at our program, the way we handle quarterbacks. Okay, we watched the development of TJ Guy and Brandt throughout the year, right, Danny? We've watched these backups get better, right? Haven't we watched them as TJ Guy has gotten reps throughout the year? Brandt has gotten reps throughout the year. We're watching Davis Warren improve as the year went on. Why didn't we got to play guys more the next guy, I think we have to do a better job of as a program playing our quarterbacks to get them ready for the following year. That's just the point I'm trying to make, because I think Davis Warren has improved a lot as the year went on. He wasn't perfect today, but it's just a statement I want to make about the development of players.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to JB Brown, the special teams coach as well. You know, the first kickoff went into the end zone, and it was Jordan Marshall, the true freshman, took it out. I thought that was an ill-advised move. I know they have that conversation, but Ohio State was already down there waiting for him, and he only got it out there at the 10. But Tommy Doman was fantastic, especially in the first half, punting the ball. Really did a good job, flipping the field a few times, giving Michigan good field position. And then obviously Ohio State misses 2 kicks. I mean, hitting their field goal kicker, I don't want to say choke, but I mean, he had some very makeable kicks. And meanwhile, Zavada's, cranking them in from 50 plus. Looked like they would have been good from 70. And then I'd never been more confident a guy making a field goal. I know it ended up being a pretty short one, 21-yarder, but
yeah, I was never worried about him. Then it was just, are we going to protect? Are we going to protect in there? Are we going to have a great snap and a great hold? Because we bobbled a couple snaps this year, and that whole thing was good there. And then holding them was like, God, they showed no sign of being able to move the ball in that defense. Josiah Stewart, look at those last 4 plays. He just launched that tackle, just stuffed them right back into the quarterback. We were just dominant in there, our front. And
Scar, I'm going to jump in. I know you've already mentioned Joel Klatt in this broadcast here, and I don't think Gus Johnson made many friends right at the end of the game with what he said about Sharon Moore. But Ryan Day, if I'm an Ohio State fan, he plays so conservative in this game. And the one thing, and Klatt kept saying is like, Ohio State has an advantage when they throw the ball. And he said it early. He said it in the second half. He's like, are they going to lean into it? And it did look like now Michigan had 2 picks, but it felt like one of the stories of the game is that Day closed up and played tentative and was afraid to throw the ball, and he kind of played into Michigan's hands.
I don't know, Danny. We took a lot of stuff away, man. We gave them nothing after I said we had to be great at tackling in space. I said that on Monday.
Right.
And they were killing us on those short sideline passes. How many times did they, convert their third downs? I think we did a good job of taking a lot of that stuff away from them. There was no bombs over the head available to them. Or we did the smart thing and we held the guy. We gave him the penalty there. But I think
yes, good point.
I think they did throw the ball quite a bit. We didn't give them any big plays. We totally made them a one-dimensional football team. They had no run game going at all, Denny. And then that makes it easier to play in the secondary. That made it easier for Wink to call defenses. That made it easy for our secondary players. So I don't know if I agree that, this was about Ryan Day's inability to call plays. I think it was, we took away what they wanted to do, man. Sometimes you got to give credit to the defensive guys.
Yeah.
How about, I just want to say this too. Right. This is going to be big time for recruiting and momentum. I know all this money and the bag is important, but I think this game is really gonna. Let's see what it does these next 2 weeks or so before this signing day. If we can get a flip or two off of this, but I gotta believe that this is gonna help create some more momentum and for recruiting here. So if there's kids on the fence about Sharon Moore that were possibly thinking last minute, maybe we can get some guys to come our way.
Well, I don't think you can underscore that enough. Sharon Moore after the game, he's crediting his defense. He's standing by Mason Graham and he yells to Jenny Taft, "This is why you come to Michigan." To do it 4 times, and with the play that Michigan was getting from their quarterback, I mean, this season I don't think there were a lot of people. However you get yourself up for a game, heck, it's Michigan, Ohio State, but I don't think many people were thinking like you were, Scar, that Michigan was going to be able to pull the upset, and you can understand. And it shows you how big this rivalry and what it means. Michigan gets a win. I feel like this season, you punctuated at the end with a win over Ohio State. a team that was sitting there and everybody, at least, the betting odds favorite to win the national championship. And you do it 4 times in a row. I mean, so obviously you've done it 2 times down there in Columbus. The first time everyone's going to say, okay, well, anybody can get lucky once, and you do it twice, and then, do it for the national championship. But then to come back and to do it 4 times in a row, this is this series. This is how the series has gone. Michigan was dominating it under Cooper, and then they come back, and then Ohio State was dominating, and now Michigan has clearly just flipped this thing and are now, they're dominating it.
Yeah, hey, Danny, something that could possibly happen that could be a great situation is if they get rid of Ryan Day and they have more chaos over there. So that could be a great thing. And I told you, my confidence.
Why don't you go ahead and make a prediction on that, Scar? I think I'll tell you what I think, but I want you.
I don't know. I'd like to see him gone. I want more chaos over there and problems and confusion and backstabbing. That's what we want. We want Michigan unified, and we want them stabbing each other. Just so this, I took Michigan plus 4.5, paying 6-1 on my money. That's how confident I was. Okay, that's that. Nice. But you know what Vegas was saying about Michigan's offense? That they wouldn't score 12 points or 11 points. It was 10.5 on them scoring. They said, you ain't scoring 11 points. How'd you like to go and play defense like that? I was talking to some of my former teammates about those lines. But Danny, I'll tell you one thing that this might put to rest. And Michigan people have to understand this. We have a system on defense that freaking works, okay? 4 years now, it's proven that it works against these assholes. And those are the guys we got to beat, and we got to beat them guys in East Lansing, okay? Yeah. So it's proven that it works against these guys. Now, we just got to get better quarterback play and better and a little more production from our receivers, okay? But the system, Danny, our system works, man, okay? We just got to do a better job offensively because we pounded them. They don't want to play this kind of football. Ohio State don't want to play this kind of football. Okay, so I think people need to say, look, Jim established this philosophy of Michigan of what we're going to get back to, the Schembechler, Moeller, Carr stuff, and Sharon believes in it. And Denny, I think you're going to owe me that hamburger. Kirk Campbell ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to fork over some hamburgers to you, no doubt about that. I think 2 years ago there were some Ohio State fans that wanted Ryan Day fired when he lost to Michigan. But remember, Ohio State was able. There was only 4 teams to get into the college football playoff, and they didn't shank that field goal. I think they would have won the national championship, but that didn't happen. I think that he needs to win the national championship. Now, I think he at least needs to get to the national championship. But I don't know. Maybe when they're going to win the national championship, they're going to fire him. So it's when they say championship or bust, you hear that. So it's a cliche. I was saying it last year, like everyone else for Michigan, and people were saying that for Ohio State. Well, there are a lot of Ohio State fans are down there saying fire him right now. Well, they're going to wait to the end and see if they win the national championship or not. But I think if they fall short, you lose to Michigan and you fall short in a championship or bust season, I think he's going to be gone.
Danny, it would be the greatest thing for us. Because again, anytime they got to start over and you don't know what they're going to do, you might get some commitments that might jump ship. So all that confusion and chaos is good for them. And Robbie here is we got to give. Robbie is saying this about Wink. We got to give Wink a bunch of credit. He figured out his personnel and how to utilize our guys. Scar was saying it from day one. I met the OG this summer. Okay, in our final scrimmage, I met him at the big house. I worked with Wink at the camp for 20 years, man. I knew him a long time ago when he was a young coach with John Harbaugh, and I just shook his hand again and wished him luck. He's doing the same things we had done with McDonald and Minner, and the system works on defense, and we just got to get better quarterback play throughout the year and as in recruiting. And I think we did that with Underwood coming in. So Denny, fired up, man, fired up for these kids, fired up for our football program.
All right, well, let me get your last thoughts. I mean, you kind of went man for man on the defensive side and what Wink was able to do. Both quarterbacks threw 2 interceptions, but, Will, I think I was not expecting a whole lot on the Michigan side from Davis Warren. His great drive ended up in one of the worst throws ever. He gets the win. He's a legend now for Michigan. He turns into, he's a Michigan man. There's no doubt about that. That was awesome. I'm glad for Davis Warren because, if Michigan would have lost that, you think about that pass that he had intercepted, that would have stayed with him forever. But that's why football's a funny game. Now you can laugh about it, and he gets the win. But I think for this one, I don't know. You got a 3 stars, and I put you on the spot.
Here, Danny, I'm gonna go through the offensive line real quick the way I see it. Crippen outplayed their guy. Our center was. I'm gonna go back to Schembechler. Schembechler said, Crippen, you got to outplay their center. Okay, their guy got hurt, and they had a backup in there. Crippen was outstanding. That kid finished up the year great. He's coming back. He's a stud. Gio was outstanding. Our guard play was better than their play. We got Gio coming back. Preeb was good. No problems in there. Hinton was outstanding at left tackle. Lentz is better. He's improving. He's going to be coming back. We got him back. We got Gio back. We got Crippen back. We got Klein back. Klein's a stud. I was calling all year to throw the ball to this kid because it'll make our offense more difficult to defend if you got Klein and Loveland. So Klein was outstanding today. 80 will replace Loveland next year. We're going to have good tight end play next year. 80 was outstanding today for a freshman. Denny, our receiver play was good enough. What's his name? Dropped the ball right in his hands. Number 8.
Morris. Yeah.
We got we got to recruit a freak or two. We got to get a big time receiver in, man. But our receivers were good enough today. Mullings was legendary. They got the 2 superstar running backs, right? They got these fast guys, Henderson, and then the kid they stole from Ole Miss. They paid him. But you know what? This game's about the toughest kid, and we had the tougher kid. Mullings was the tougher kid of those 2 clowns. I'll take our guy any day. Mullings outplayed both those clowns. Okay? So we got better running back play. Quarterback play was probably a push. Our offensive line was better than their line. Our tight ends were better. And our kicker was definitely – so you got to give credit to our Sharon Moore.
Yep. That
this game was decided because we want to yell at him for not getting the right quarterback, right? Well, we got to compliment him for getting the right kicker. Ohio State got the wrong guy. Ryan Day and his $20 million, he needs to reevaluate and throw a couple crumbs at those kickers too. Okay, you can't spend all your gold on the skill players. Go out and buy a kicker. So we went and got a kicker, and he was the difference. So that's leadership and that's coaching. And I've ripped on him. We've all ripped on him for getting the wrong, for our quarterback room, but. Let's give him credit for that kicker we got.
No doubt about that. All right, Scar. Well, I know you want to go celebrate this victory and also your wager that you put on for Michigan. Great job on that. Great job. So we'll see you on Monday, right?
All right, Denny. Go Blue. I know Jerry will be fired. You're going to talk to Jerry here in a minute. I don't know. Anyway,
call him. Yes.
Great day for Michigan. You're the man, Danny. Go Blue.
All right. See you, Scar. There he is, Jim Scarcelli. And, Scar's a former Michigan player. And when we had him on Monday and he was talking about he likes Michigan's chances and he was going through it. And then he was pointing to, how well they played against Northwestern and what he had saw from Ohio State. I didn't see that myself. And I sit here and I apologize to everyone. I think I had a bad week on Wednesday. It was so bad. I mean, bad for me that I was just I was leaning a little bit into how poorly I thought the coaching was this year. And then I talked to somebody earlier in the day that was talking about some infighting on the team, and it just put me in a bad spot. And I quickly was like, bad coaching, poor leadership. I don't see much of a chance. I thought Ohio State was going to blow them out, and yet here I sit. And I don't know. I feel like I need to be a little bit tarred and feathered or slapped around or, pushed around, whatever. I'll take the criticism. I didn't see it. I did think that in this game, not right off the bat. Let me just answer it. And then, well, let me call Jerry. Jerry Diorio. He was even more confident than Scar yesterday when Jerry just said, he's picking Michigan. He thinks that Michigan is going to win the game. And I just want to see if I can get him on the phone. We'll just try a blind call to Jerry, see how it works, see if we can get him on the phone. I did mention to him that we would call him. Let's just see. Maybe we'll just leave a message for Jerry and say, hey, Jerry, great job on the call and everything else.
Danny.
Hey, Jerry, you're on the Michigan Postgame live show. How you doing?
Better than any Buckeye fan around here, that's for sure.
Jerry,
it's great to be a Michigan Wolverine, Denny.
You picked Michigan to win the game. You picked Michigan to win the game yesterday. I'm calling to let you on and tell everybody. You pretty much nailed it, Gary. Let me just say, because the one thing that stuck with me as I was looking at the numbers here, the team that's going to run the ball the best in this series, it's not a little cliche, but 172 yards for Michigan, 77 for Ohio State. Why don't you start there?
In the 23rd time in a row that the team that outran the other team won the ball game. It's all about the trenches. Somebody texted me and said, hey, misuse of talent on the Ohio State side. Well, I just reminded them there's 11 guys that have talent out there, not just 4.
Yeah, and Khalil Mullings put himself into legendary status. He had that great 60-yard run against USC, that 63-yard run. That was on a 3rd and 1. And then today he had a 3rd and 1. It was a pretty big play when you look at it. It came down to, it was a 3rd and 1 on Michigan's first possession of the 4th quarter, and he got the first down, and then he ripped off a 27-yard run in total there, which, was one of it may be the biggest play of the game.
Well, I just thought, our offensive line, we weren't getting much. We were running up. It seemed like we were running that inside zone, and we weren't just hitting it. And then all of a sudden, it's that old thought process: body shot, and that ground game, and then bang, there it goes. That body shot cripples a rib. Okay, and that's what our offensive line did today. They took body shot after body shot after body shot, and then eventually, bang, hit the rib.
What about the offensive line, Jerry? You're a former offensive lineman. It seems easy to say after you win a game like this that they played their best game of the year, but they played their one of the great games that you'll see against. I hear Joe Klatt right off the beginning. This is the best defense in the country. He's going man for man on the defensive line. They're the best defensive line in the country. They're the best overall defense in the country. Caleb Downs is the best player in the country. I mean, it's just going on and on. And Michigan came off the ball, and they at
one time, Denny, I was watching it. I'm watching it in Redondo Beach, California, with palm trees all around me, the beach right behind me. This is a great setting. Okay, and it's just beautiful out here. It's just beautiful. But I couldn't hear the TV. Is what I'm getting to.
Oh,
and
okay.
I thought I heard Joe Klatt say sometime in the middle of the 3rd quarter, which I think we all predicted, that the Michigan defensive line was dominant and just outmatched the Ohio offensive line. I believe he did say that in the middle of the 3rd quarter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so it was a battle of both up front sevens, and that's where it was.
Yeah. How would you rank this victory for Michigan?
I'm thinking about this, and, I think we went on Friday and we talked about the 2 big margin of victories, 69 and 96. And I believe 96 was the Streets explosion, wasn't it?
Yes.
I would put it right there. That game, that kind of game where Michigan. You remember when Mercury Hayes made the over-the-head reverse catch against Ohio State in the I think it was a southeast corner of the end zone, and we beat that Ohio State team when we were 6-5, I believe it was. Jeremy Muller's last year or second last year or something like that. So that's the kind of victory, and it almost reminds you of a John Cooper era 2.0.
Yeah, considering that Ohio State, they're being talked about as the best team in the country and all of that, and Michigan going into the game, they did get their win to get bowl eligible. They did get Bryce Underwood, but it was more like okay, maybe they just get this game over with. But for me, there is momentum in college football.
Denny. I will say one thing right there to that statement. Those seniors, those juniors to be NFL players were not going to go out without giving their best performance today. They were going out and they were going to kick their ass. They were going to kick Ohio's butt today, and that's exactly what they did. Our seniors and our last year players went out and dominated like and a lot of them did it all year long, and that's what I'm saying. Now, they weren't going to take this game lightly. They were going out and they were going to dominate, and they were going to be one of those classes that say, we never lost to the Buckeyes.
Yeah, well, you say all that, Jerry. What if I'd have told you that Davis Warren would have thrown for just 62 yards and no touchdowns and 2 interceptions?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, what would you have said? Right, yeah, you said that would have been a long day.
No, I would have said, how did our defense do?
Yeah.
How did our defense do? And our defense dominated. We rushed 4, whether it was a linebacker rushing and dropping an edge player or some kind of scheme like that. We were rushing 4 all day long and dropping 7. And that's why Ohio, those receivers weren't getting open. They weren't breaking deep. We were keeping everything in front of us, played great zone defense. The old bend but don't break philosophy, and it worked to perfection.
It did. I wrote down a number of times as I was charting this game, and I was just looking when you said that, and it was like right out of the gate. I'm like, 2 first downs, Cardell Tate, Michigan bends but don't break. I'm coming over here, then I'm looking Michigan. Makari Page pops Howard on the 3rd and short. I've got Michigan bends, but a 38-yard field goal. Then they miss it. Zavada makes his field goals. Ohio, that was like last year, or even 2 years ago. I'm thinking down in Columbus where the field goal kicking, Michigan is on a heater when it comes to their place kickers. Right down the line from Turner, down Zavada and Moody, and Ohio State, whoever they put in there, they missed the kicks today. They missed them 2 years ago. They miss them when they're in the college football playoff. They got a place kicker issue.
Well, Denny, here's the thing. We talked about yesterday how the running game, the team that ran the ball best would win this game. That was one point. We also talked about getting home with 4 players. We rushed 4 all night and dropped 7. That's what getting home with 4 players. We didn't have a lot of success getting sacks, but we rushed passes. We made them throw off balance. We made them uncomfortable with 7 dropping, and that was a huge key to the game. And lastly, the teams that Ohio State beat, they beat in the last half of this year with special teams. Today, we won the kicking game. We won with Zavada, we won with Toman, and we won with all those guys out there playing on those special teams. Great field position at times, and we weathered the storm in the 3rd quarter where we had very poor field position.
Great point, Jerry. Somebody saying this is the best 7-5 season ever. I want you. We'll talk with you next week, but you're out there in California amidst the palm trees and everything else, and
the beach volleyball, Denny. I mean, it's just unbelievable out here. It's it's very nice. It's great to be a Michigan Wolverine in sunny California today.
Yeah,
right across. You know what? The bar I'm watching it at is right next to the Buckeyes bar.
Ooh.
So you got the Michigan bar right next to the Buckeye bar. They cleared it out pretty quick.
I guess so. It was one of the dynamics of the game, Jerry. You said they didn't have the audio up, so I get that. But I'm watching on the Maize and Blue review. The Michigan fans are pretty much booing the play calling. They hated is Kirk Campbell just going to keep running the ball right up the middle? Yes, yes, yes. And then when he finally, they're like, throw a pass. And then they did down at the 2-yard line, and he threw an interception. They're like, why don't you just run it? But then Ohio State fans, I mean, you could hear them booing Ryan Day, and you could hear them booing Chip Kelly because they just kept running the ball up the middle as well. I think you take 100 Buckeye fans and you ask them, they're going to say, I don't know what we were doing on offense.
Well, I think Klatt hit the point that we've been talking about, and we've been talking about it all season long. Up front, we can match with anybody, and most of the time we're going to be dominant. And that's what we were today. We were dominant up front. We smacked them right in the face.
They sure did.
And that's where, and when you make a team one-dimensional, and then you're only rushing 4 and dropping 7 and covering with 7, that's a long day for them. Remember, we talked about this, Denny. At the beginning of the season, we were talking about our defense being one of the best in the country. I think it showed out today.
Great point. You take us back before the season. This is the kind of thing that you were talking about, that defense could carry you to double-digit wins if because you saw the talent. And heck, they didn't even have their best defender in Will Johnson. Great point, Jerry. Give me a final one here, and I'll let you go celebrate this Michigan victory.
Well, no, I just I think I think Sharon Moore deserves a lot of credit in this game. He's 2-0 in this game. We've questioned some of the coaching decisions, both offensively and defensively, all year long. And I think our coaches finished real strong, especially in the recruiting game. So this November has been very good for Sharon Moore, in my opinion, and the staff. I think Wink Martindale finished as strong as any defensive coordinator in the country, and I think our defense is as good as anybody right now in the country. It's just too bad that we lost some games that we should have won. And so, where would we be if we would have won a couple or 3 of those games that we should have won? So, but, to finish strong like this, it's just it's a testament to that coach and that coaching staff and those seniors.
I think you hit it right on the head, Jerry. Great job. Enjoy California. Thanks for spending some time with us, and enjoy the victory.
Hey, Denny, it's great to be a Michigan Wolverine. Hail to the victors, baby.
There you go. There he is, Jerry Diorio, joining us here from California after watching Michigan win this game, and they do it with an impressive defense. And one of those games, this was a throwback performance. Throwback to, you think about some of the games over the last 10, even 20 years, the point totals of, Ohio State was getting up in the 50 and 60 in some of them. And to have one that is 13-10 and it coming down to line play and play calling and punting and field goal kicking. This felt like the early 70s of watching a Michigan-Ohio State game, but it does go to show you when it comes to Michigan football, there's such an emphasis on this game. And when you win this game, it does a lot for you. It can cover a lot of issues or warts, whatever you want to say, from a regular season or the previous games that don't go well. The last game, it springboards you. It felt like Michigan gets Bryce Underwood. They beat Northwestern. They beat Ohio State. And if you can look up and keep your head up and feel good about a 7-5 season, you could feel as good about this 7-5 season, the way that it's played out, that you could have any season. You know, there were a few years that had gone by where Michigan would lose 3 games, but the 3 games would be like Notre Dame, Michigan State, and Ohio State, and nobody enjoyed those seasons. And you really never enjoy a season when it ends with a loss to Ohio State. But this just reinforces it. You know, you get this victory against Ohio State and what it means for the program. Here was Sharon Moore at the end of the game saying, this is why you come to Michigan. And if I do believe there is momentum, I know that, you know, Bryce Underwood immediately, there wasn't like, you know, all of these 5 stars just like running, you know, to say, I'm in, you know, sign me up. But signing day's on Wednesday. They've done everything they can right now over these last couple weeks to put themselves in fabulous position for the future. And winning this game is big in that regard. It's big for all of the other things as well. But it gives everyone, especially one of these where nobody's giving you a shot, and then you come up and ring the bell like this is it's really extraordinary. I didn't think I would be sitting here talking about Michigan beating Ohio State. But, man, when you heard people saying how would they do it, the part about being on the road in Columbus, and Ryan Day even said it this week where he was, you know, comparing it to war and how there's just it's so all-consuming for him, paraphrasing some of it, that there's just nothing. It felt like life and death for him. And you get that in, you know, maybe he should preface everything and say, hey, you know, it's sports, and yet it feels like this, but he didn't. He was just like, it does feel like this. And you get those fans who are so worked up, and then they knew it not immediately, but they knew pretty quick. Yeah, they could talk about, hey, it's Michigan, we can never look past them, it doesn't matter until the final seconds click off the clock or whatever, everything else. But they had to feel very confident. And you can hear all of the stuff that people would say all week, and I said it a few times. Hey, Stranger Things. This was a Stranger Things have happened game, and now that it's over, you point to, oh, look at the Tigers had a 0.2% chance. Michigan, a 19.5 point favorite. You look to last night, people were saying, oh, if Georgia Tech could take Georgia to 8 overtimes, can't Michigan hang with Ohio State? It wasn't Michigan's first drive, although they did get a first down, and Davis Warren had a nice ball, but it was run, pass. Hey, they got a first down, but then it was run, pass short. You're like, I hope they mix it up a little bit and break some tendencies where it's not going to be run the ball up the middle on every down. But that Michigan defense, they bent, but they did not break. And there were a lot of people, and I think Joel Klatt mentioned it. It might even have been on that first Ohio State drive. Too much cushion by the Michigan defense. Well, that was the idea. Keep them in front. And when that field shrinks, you can bend. But when it gets down where you're getting close to the red zone, that's where you need to stand tall and keep them out of the red zone. And Michigan did that, or keep them out of the end zone and the red zone while you're at it, keep them out of the end zone. And then they're the special teams, when you're missing 38-yard field goals and you're missing 34-yard field goals. If this was in the 70s, you'd say, all right, they had the uprights were like half the size. Guys are making them. Zavada's out there. His kick would have been good from 65, easy. He's out there, slamming them through. And you feel like, there was some momentum on that side. But all of that, you go through 10-10. There were some things feel like Michigan on their last drive when they did, I say, settle for a 54-yard field goal where you feel like, man, they had great field position there, and you're pinning Ohio State back deep, and your defense is getting them off the field. Go out there and do something. And then, of course, Ohio State came back after that 50, and they went right down the field in their most impressive drive, 75 yards, and Smith, the outstanding freshman, gets the touchdown. It's 10-10 at the half. But, of course, you'd have taken 10-10 at the half when you think about it. But then you're like, man, Michigan, they left some maybe left a bigger lead out there if they would have played a little bit differently. But the conservative play calling and even the predictable play calling, Michigan was like, we are taking Khalil Mullings and we are just running him up the middle every time. And then we're going to play defense and we're going to play field position. And I do got to tell you about Zavada. You have such a confidence. There was a couple points, and I'd have to look really into the depth chart, but Michigan, Mullings is running. I think it was when he broke that 27-yarder. But I'm thinking if he gets 5 yards, I'm like, I think Zavada could kick a 65-yarder. And I think Michigan can win the game, 13-10 on a 65-yard Zavada kick. I felt comfortable. You'd have said, hey, would you take that? And he wanted to get a little bit closer, and Mullings ended up ripping off the 27-yard run, and then, then it became like, oh, man. But the previous drive felt like the one for the ages for Davis Warren. And that was the one right at the end of the third quarter that spilled into the fourth quarter where you had Klein coming up on the 3rd and 6. Peyton freaking O'Leary on a 3rd and 8. He's staying in bounds, and I don't know how I'm doing it on the camera, but he catches the ball. It was a pretty awkward, but man, he had his hands. It was just, you overstate some things, so maybe I would overstate it if I said that's one of the great catches in Michigan. It was one of the great catches in the game. And did they need it, where they ended up? But it was an amazing catch, and it just felt like that because then Warren, he's running up the middle for a first down. And then they did and people were waiting. Got to be a trick play coming. It's got to be something. And it was Kendrick Bell to reverse. And then here's Ohio State. They don't even have their defensive back. You wonder why maybe they don't throw a little bit more when you come down to that, when you get the pass interference. But then with everything where it felt like Michigan was going to win and it was their game, and the Ohio State fans have turned on their coaches, they've turned on the team, they're booing Chip Kelly, they're booing Ryan Day, and then Jack Sawyer, but Michigan's got it 1st and goal. 1st and goal. And no, they don't slam it up the middle like everybody thought. They have an easy pass to Hogan Hansen. And it's going to be a touchdown. It's a great call. And Warren, he's got to, however he wanted to be able to throw. I don't know if he just didn't see, but, he picks it off. And it felt like everything that had happened up to that point, all of the air had gone out of the balloon. It went from like one of the great days to, this is how it's going to end. That's their chance, because they really weren't doing anything on offense up to that point. That was their chance to win the ball game. But of course, Michigan's defense had their back. We're good. We'll get them on a 3 and out. And that's what they did. And they got good field position, and that's when Mullings, he got the big play, relying on him, 27 yards on the ground to get down there. And then Ohio State choking down. They can't. They're calling back-to-back timeouts. They're misaligned. Oh, man. And that, we'll go back to the coaching. I want to take some on the feedback here and just see where the people are at. It's always good to see the people on here. Everybody is excited. Here's NS. I'll read some of these. The Buckeyes couldn't handle Michigan's offensive line. I'll agree with that. Chuck says, does Day get a chance to play for a natty to save his job, or is he done tonight? Well, if you're an Ohio State fan, you want him done tonight. You want him to shave his beard and get out of town. But they're still in the college football playoff. And now they'll host a game, right? Now they'll I've got a friend of mine's a Penn State fan, and he's texting me like, go blue and all this. He hates Michigan. And, can you guys win a game for me and everything else? And I was ignoring him and everything else, but I know he's really happy about Penn State being able to play in the Big Ten championship game, but Ohio State will be able to host the game. And I think Ohio State, they'll be at home, and if they can win it all, as Brian Day, you win a championship and then he's going to get booed. Hey, congratulations! Great game against Michigan. Boo. So yeah, he's got to win the national champion. I think it's pretty easy for him. And there would be nothing better. Ohio State, it's a great rivalry. Of course, it's the best, and they always have such great talent. The only time I've never felt sorry for Ohio State because of all that great talent and all the resources that they had. And then it was just the 1 year where Tressel was gone, and before they had Meyer, it was Luke Fickell was their interim head coach, and Michigan was able to, Brady Hoke got him that year. And it was like, how about they go on a little bit of a slide? How about they have one of those downturns? Because when you go out, the most important thing in college football is the head coach. And look at what they have now. They come up short and they change. It's not a sure thing. They think, put Hartline in there. He's such a great recruiter. There's a lot of things that go into it. We've seen it ourselves. I always thought with the run that they had at quarterback, whoever they put in there, they're just getting great play. Then they'd even have an injury, and then the backup, he would come in and be great. And then the one time they had Barrett, and then whoever the backup was got hurt, and then whoever was Cardell Jones, 12 gauge came in, and they had 3 quarterbacks coming in, and Michigan still wasn't able to beat them. So then they finally look at their last 2 QBs. I mean, McCord, he's just, they took McCord over J.J. McCarthy. Woo! All the quarterbacks that they had before. And, they probably should have kept Burrow. I mean, we can just say Fields was a pretty good quarterback for him. I guess it was down to those 2. But now look at Howard. I mean, Will Howard today, you talk about, hey, we just go to the portal and, get a guy like Will Howard. 2 picks, 175 yards, and he's supposed to be a dual threat, 4 carries for 10 yards. And that's where you think about Makari Page coming up. And that was pretty early on where Makari Page, it was just Ohio State's second possession in the second quarter where Page popped Howard on the 3rd and short, came up, played him. It is perfect as you could do it. At first, there's no flag, and Ohio State fans are like, oh, we want a flag. But then they show the replay. I'll give it to Wink and then also Sharon Moore. Brandon Hillman, the big hitter for Michigan, the big safety. He had some unsportsmanlike earlier. And then it was last week or the week before. Man, he was measuring some guys up, staying away from the neck and head and just body shots. And that's what Page did. Page with a pick and that hit. This is his best game in a Michigan uniform. And then as much as I think a lot of people were lamenting Michigan not hitting the jackpot like they did last year in the transfer portal. How about Amir Hall coming up right out of the bat in the first quarter, coming up with that interception down at the 10-yard line and taking it down there to the 2 or whatever it was. I guess that was in the second quarter. Now that I'm looking at it, the first series, that was on a 3rd and 9. Hall coming up with a big time interception. Old blank name says the OSU D-line cannot rush the passer. The only time they get pressure is when they blitz. Vince calls this an amazing defensive effort. Absolutely incredible up front, and the secondary tackled. God, it was beautiful. Go Blue, baby. Yeah, Vince fired up. Should be. Chuck. Wink didn't understand the college game to start the year. He figured it out. I think that's true. Page, the best game of his life. Makari was outstanding. Back-to-back Page. Yeah, and if you do, like Ewell is saying that, he's got the laughing emojis and he's saying he knows Ohio is fuming. There does come a point where when you're a fan of college football, you get as much satisfaction as with the other team's pain as you do reveling in, your own victory. And for this one, and the position that they were in, and they can't handle it. That fan base is not going to be able to handle this win. And you think about what the crowd means. Well, you're to be able to win on the road, you get the crowd behind them. At what point, I didn't write it down, but again, I got that Ohio State was, they were handing the ball off, and the crowd, they were booing like, like you would boo like the most egregious officiating call. They were booing their own team. They were booing Chip Kelly, and they were booing Ryan Day, like just as loud as it could be. If you've ever been to that stadium, you just know just how hostile of an environment it is. Oh, it had turned, and for Michigan, it was that had to be such a lift. And meanwhile, Michigan's own fans were booing, but it was online. Like, I can't believe these play calls. But the Ohio State fans you could actually hear them. But if you listen really, when Michigan had the ball, you could hear all the clicks from the computers from the Michigan fans complaining. Here's a couple shots at Ohio State. Again, you can understand that. Someone check on Joey Galloway. I don't know, was Galloway boasting that this was going to be over early? Ohio thought it was their turn to win. Me too. Vince is going back and saying what's on a lot of people's mind. Imagine if we had even decent play at the quarterback position. We'd have won by 20. Here's Mike talking about Eberflus, the Bears coach. Was he down there with Blackbeard today? Mary Ellen is happy with the both Blue and May's hearts. All heart, she's saying. Blank name, Gus Johnson's call was absolutely horrendous. Thought the ball hit Page in the chest, was incomplete. Blame Michigan for OSU being sore losers. Yeah, look, there was one point in the game where I looked over on Twitter, and it was when Sawyer had intercepted Davis Warren. And like I said, I think like a lot of people, what a glorious opportunity. Was Michigan going to have another chance to score? And the answer was not a touchdown. So that it really felt like, that could have been the game there and the opportunity. And Gus Johnson, and Sawyer's going crazy. Or Johnson's going crazy, and everybody on Twitter's like, go get a room, Johnson, you jerk. You're so excited. Well, he gets so excited. Later on, he's just can't compliment Sharon more enough. Oh, Sharon, you're so great, and everything else. But then at the end of the game, he has the worst backhanded compliment that he ever could. How did he say it? He said something like, oh, it's Sharon Moore. Great job. He didn't cheat this time. And I was like, what are you doing? Gus Johnson, Michigan fans ready to take him and throw him out of the press box, for that call. So, yeah. I don't think there's going to be any time soon. Once you cross that line and you're Gus, and it was from last year, and you trot that one out there, I don't think anybody's going to. He's from Detroit, and he just, he's excited about anybody that's going to make a big play, and he's going to, jump on their bandwagon and everything else. But when you say what he said at the end of the game, he didn't make any Michigan friends, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm with you, Mr. Martini. I blew the call. It was an awesome win, and BN saying that Gus just wasn't bad at the end. He was bad the whole game. He's the worst ever, according to Mary. Joseph wants an extension for Blackbeard. Michael, all the Ohio State fans were right when they predicted a 7-6 season for Michigan. Yeah, Michigan, who would have thought they wouldn't score more? They didn't score more than 13 and won the game. A lot of stuff on Day. No doubt about it. That's it. And 4 in a row, that's where you take it's great to win. Great to beat Ohio State. To win 4 in a row. Yeah, and this one's different. This one, because it comes out of left field. The 21 game, there was such a long, it had been such a long time, and it was snowing, and it just, everybody felt good about that victory. It was a relief, and it was awesome. And then they were able to follow it up, though, and win the Big Ten and go to the college football playoff. Then they do it again the following year, and they do it on the road, which, once, sure, you're like, you could finally turn the tables on them, but they're like, yeah, okay, one time. But, to do it 2 in a row, and then to do it 3 and win the championship, but then to come back and in your worst year ever, felt like it, to come out and be able to keep 4 in a row, and Ohio State's got everything going, but Michigan understands where they have to go now. It felt like they went way up and then way down, and then they got Underwood, and things were going to look up. And now I think, you are feeling like that things are on the way up. I was going to make some jokes there, but I don't think I have any jokes in there. Yes, the missed field goals helped for sure. Like the crowd was groaning. Let me look at the situation. The one was in the second series for Ohio State in the second quarter. Makari Page had the stop on Howard. Michigan bent and it's 7-3 Michigan, and they missed a 38-yard field goal. Now, Michigan wasn't able to take advantage of the next drive. That's when it was a 3rd and 5, and Tyler Morris dropped that pass. Should have had it. Could have been a little bit better pass. But then the second one, you're in a 10-10 game, and you just trade interceptions. Page comes up with the interception. Davis Warren throws one to Caleb Downs. But then the Buckeyes, they got it. Look at they were set up on the Michigan 16, and they're being booed. They're being booed by their crowd, and then they miss another field goal. That's where, if you're sitting in the stands, where they had to be looking at each other thinking, oh, my God, we're going to lose this game. Then, of course, it came up where that Michigan had that incredible drive with all those, the O'Leary and the Klein and the Warren run before the pickoff. But, yeah, that second field goal is where the Ohio State fans were looking at each other and saying, oh, man. Scheibel is saying that it took their spirit. That's it. Charles Woodson really talked me into it. He stays behind the team. Daniel says, I knew they would win outright. I got to give it to you. A lot of praise for Wink. It's deserved, for sure. A-Train wants to talk about what they're going to do at offensive coordinator. I'm going to go ahead and wait a couple of days on that, Kirk. I get it, but it's however you want to do it. If that's where you want to go do that, and think about it. I'm just not ready right now. for that. Bean's talking about, I guess you guys are responding to you throw a name up there. I'm not ready to do that right now. Campbell refused to take shots. Hey, I was going to say, and I don't know if this is true. Now, here I am doing it. If you're going to be down on him for the majority of the season, and then when he comes up big, it was the same thing with me with Sharon Moore after the Indiana game. I was really down on Sharon Moore. I did not like what he was doing as captain of the ship, and they looked poorly coached. They were playing poorly. They looked poorly coached. They just didn't seem like he had it anywhere. Then he scored the big recruitment. I'll credit him. I don't know how much he had, but kid had to like Sharon Moore there. But if I'm going to knock him and I see the victory today, well, I'm going to credit him. And for Campbell, but Campbell was criticized most of the game, even inside the game, like for calling a terrible game. Did he call a terrible game today? That's what you have to ask yourself. I mean, Michigan won, and they just stuck with it. Was like the end of that USC game. I would have taken Orji out of that game. That was his first start when he just had 32 yards. I thought that they needed to, they're pinned inside their 20. I didn't think on the 3rd and 1 that Khalil Mullings was going to, bust a 63-yard run from his own 20. But, but today, there was a part where it got to, again, consulting the sheet here. There was a spot. Well, after the Sawyer interception, when Michigan gets it back, are they really? Is Davis Warren really going to continue to just be able to pull rabbits out of the hat? They needed the hero to be Khalil Mullings. I don't think there was going to be another hero in that situation. I thought Zavada, he feels like he's Superman. If they would have got what's the college football record? He could have kicked a 65-yarder where they would have lined him up for a 70-yard field goal. Let him kick it. I mean, it sounds ridiculous. But you look at the 54-yarder, and I don't know. 54-yarder, it crosses the bar 10 feet over, and it bangs into the back of the net. It felt like it would have went in from 70. He's probably not swinging his leg a little same way, but that's in there. Whew. Somebody talking about this is right up there with 69. Well, that was Bo's first year. This was Sharon's first year. That was a great Ohio State team. This is a great Ohio State team. So here's somebody that was mad at Scar after the Texas game for looking at the positives. He apologized the next day. He was doing it again, and he was spot on. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about both Jerry and Jim. Both of them were picking Michigan to win this game during the week, and I'm just like, okay, you guys, I really don't see it, but go ahead. I mean, but they did. How about it? How about that? Take a few more. Here's somebody from Georgia weighing in. I think maybe a Penn State fan might want to weigh in and say thanks. Go in. That's it. Harvey. Well, you were harsh. We all were passionate about it. Well, you let me off the hook a little bit there. A few more. Vince is ready to talk some ball. That's it. If somebody came out and said, you don't know ball, you thought Ohio State was going to cover. There's a crying Ryan, going to be whining about Michigan cheating again because that's all he's got. I think crying Ryan better worry about winning a few ball games here because he's not going to the Big Ten championship again. And I don't know how many of those Ohio State fans, I mean, they are ready to run him out of town. Do you want Ohio State to win the national championship so they'll keep Ryan Day around? That would really be an odd, I mean, it is. I don't like to think, I'm going to think about it for a second. Of course, I don't like to think about it, but I am going to think about it. The positive would be, no, there's no, I don't want, I would like Day out. Not that I think he's a great coach, but I don't want Ohio State. The only way that Ohio State keeps Ryan Day is if they win the national championship. Ohio State winning the national championship, sure, there's still going to be people like upset that it'd be, but they'll still cheer him, and it would be great for recruiting, and it would be great for NIL. So no, we want Ohio State to lose their first round playoff game, get unceremoniously bounced, go from the top of the mountain, and then you could say it all started with Michigan, and then they'll be looking up at Michigan, and then they'll need a new head coach. They'll get it, and then they'll probably lose a lot of recruits, and that's the thing about, you think about how things go down. I got to think of when I'm an Ohio State recruit and I got this money in my hand and I got other people, I might be like, I might be ready to jump off of this ship. Might be ready to get out of here. Woo! Yeah, I don't see any of the Ohio State fans on here. But he's talking about no Will Johnson, no Colston Loveland, no Harbaugh. 18 players to the draft, first-year head coach. We got the win. What now? Yeah, Ohio State doesn't have anything. I mean, here I am again trying to put myself. If I was in an Ohio State fan's shoes, I wouldn't have anything where I could look at Michigan. They are looking at two people, Chip Kelly and Blackbeard, Ryan Day. And they are saying that has to be the worst coaching performance that they've ever seen. And hell, they had John Cooper. That had to be the worst performance that they've ever seen. And then their offensive play call, and then Chip Kelly refusing to throw the ball. Day's on the headset too. Hey, let's start throwing it. And yeah, you got to credit Michigan. That's where there's no Jim Harbaugh, Sharon Moore, anything else. These guys are looking inward, and they're looking at the head coach, and they're talking about their offensive coordinator, how they made a terrible hire, or how these guys, they're talking how they talk about Cooper. And these guys can do everything, but then, they got to pay attention to Michigan, and then they tighten up. That's the thing with Cooper. Cooper would be riding high, coming on in, talking great stuff, and then all of a sudden he'd get into the Michigan week and he's like, he couldn't complete a sentence, and then he's going to flip his quarterbacks and how he was doing it all year long, and then he tightened up in the game, and his players felt it. And the players felt it today. The players tightened up. The crowd tightened up. And it almost happened. I said it didn't happen immediately, but it happened pretty quickly in this game. When you see, and people that know ball saw that Michigan's D-line was not getting pushed back, but they were getting into the backfield, and they saw the Michigan offensive line was surging forward. If you know ball, you knew pretty early on. Now you're talking about it's a rivalry. These guys are just going to exchange some blows here, some body blows. Yeah, there's some of that. That, you kept thinking that the Ohio State wide receivers would get going. Abuka and old Smith is the greatest player of all time, according to everybody that's ever watched him play. He's great. You kept thinking, oh, there's going to be a 60-yarder, an 80-yarder, and here it goes. And then it never happened for them. Andres wants to talk about Khalil Mullings, tough as nails. Came back into the game after getting banged up. He would not be denied. Yeah, Khalil Mullings is a real one. He's as real as they get. They had to have him. It was only him. Donovan Edwards got hurt. Hope he's okay, but he wasn't getting it done in this game. He wasn't the same running back. I was trying to not so much protect Donovan Edwards, but say that, look, Donovan Edwards is one of those guys, but he didn't really have it this year. Certainly didn't have it in this game. They had to have Khalil Mullings. And Khalil Mullings had one of the great games in Michigan history. We could say that. As a 20-point underdog on the road with his backfield mate going down with an injury, a quarterback that only would throw for 62 yards. They had to have Mullings. I don't know if he needed to rip the 72-yard or the 27-yarder. He might have only needed to get 7 because Zavada, and there it is. Mullings, Zavada. Those would be 2 of my players of the game. And do I want to give Page? There's got to be, you could say you should give the whole defense. Not bad. I can understand why you would say that. I feel like Page because he came up and had the big hit and also had the pick. I like Amir Hall, who had the big pick. Who else would I pick on that Michigan defense? Houseman led him in tackles and had 1.5 TFLs. How about Mason Graham, 5 solos? Let's go ahead, Mason Graham. Mason Graham, who could have sat this game out and ensured his spot in the NFL draft, played a hell of a game on that Michigan defensive line. 7 tackles, 5 solos. We'll make Graham our 3rd star of the game. Number 2 star of the game, we'll go with Dominic Zavada, nailing the game-winning field goal. Also popping in that 54-yarder to give Michigan a 10-3 lead in the first half. But then Khalil Mullings, number 1 star. Agree, disagree. Mullings, Zavada, Graham. That's how it goes. I can't really argue with you, Jim. He's saying that we own Columbus. Oh, here's Michigan Go Blue 1, 2, 3, 4. He says it's one of the best days of his life. Khalil Mullings is a legend. I'm getting a text here. Apparently, Ohio State Police will be releasing a statement shortly. Ohio State Police? What are we talking about here? What's going on? I do know, I watched at the end of the game, Sharon Moore. I could pretty much, I was going to paraphrase, but I'll get pretty close to, let's see. I got to make a couple texts here. Stay with me. Give me, where was I? Oh, I was watching Sharon Moore. Who's coming on? So, Sharon Moore after the game, let's go down to Jenny Taft. Jenny's like, okay, he gives a big hug to Mason Graham standing there. And he's like, it's these guys. It's the defense. Great job. And he almost names all 11 guys on the defense. And then he's like, this is why you come to Michigan. For games like this. And then he said, talk to this guy. He's like his predecessor. Short and sweet. And then hands it over to 55. And then so Mason Graham, I listened a little bit. So then I came down and started doing this podcast. As I'm heading into the Podcast Central broadcast room, I see a text from my friend. They didn't want us planting the flag at the 50. I don't know if Michigan was going back to plant the flag, and there might have been something going on there. And then that was it. That's what I got. So I don't know. The police are being summoned. Apparently, maybe they're messing with the bus. Yeah, I was going to say I don't want to speculate, but when you have a bunch of savages and ne'er-do-wells and Philistines, and they're all drunk and they're the most disappointed that they've ever been, well, that's a cauldron that could spill over, and any of number of things could happen. But speculating on what they have done, I suppose I could probably find out a little bit more on that. Okay. Nobody's telling me text what happened. Yeah, Khalil Mullings is one of the it was a legendary performance. Let's see, since I'm talking about it, I get it right down here to the bottom. Maybe some people have some of the people ripping. Gus Johnson deserves the criticism the way he acted today. I'm not one that usually like if you would ask me about Gus Johnson, I'd say Gus Johnson he's gonna love who it's a lot like this with national broadcasters. They just, when one of the teams does something good, they're effusive in their praise, and it ticks off the other fan base. And they're like, "This guy's a jerk." We want a homer, and these guys aren't supposed to be homers, but he's a homer for whoever's doing well. But Johnson in this game, the world famous Buckeyes, but so he was jocking Ohio State, but then at the end, he stuck his foot in his mouth. And, Michigan fans, if you were a fan of Johnson, I think there's very few left fans of Gus Johnson. That's it. Okay, here we go. Michigan players were maced, according to Roberts. Well, on the field? Oh, because they were trying to plant their flag, and so you get the Buckeye police. Who's macing Michigan? It's a pretty sad state of affairs. Macing Michigan, huh? Get the heck, Richard's saying, get out of there. Yeah, get out of there. Well, there's no, you can't, the way Michigan is going. We get here, Michigan people. Yeah, there it is. There's congratulations to Sharon Moore and Michigan shocking Ohio State post Jim Harbaugh. Here's somebody named Buckeye Fett. Do I regret leaving disastrous receipts? No. The hell is supposed to make this place go around? Have fun, Michigan fans. Here's a guy that's here's an Ohio State fan. I've seen him before. I don't really know what he's saying, but he looks.
Congratulations, Michigan Twitter crew. Great game. That first quarter interception was the difference of the game, I think. But damn, this hurts. All right, Michigan Twitter crew. I'm sure my timeline is going to get blown up, but congratulations.
Hey, I see a little classy from an Ohio State fan. Here we go. I've got a little. Jack Sawyer wasn't going for the. When you lose the football game, it's no fun to have the opponents come over and storm your field and plant their flags. But you can't go out there ripping down their flags. You want to do a little pushing and shoving over on the sideline like happened during the game. We all understand that. But after the game, you need to take yourself to the locker room, and you can't do what Ohio State did there. That's all on Ohio State. That's all on their staff. That's all on the players. That's all on the, I was going to say the Buckeye security, but what can you do? And then now I hear about macing out there. Okay. Pretty wild when it comes down to it. Let's take a few more. Can we take 3 more on the feedback? Let's do it. Let's see what we have here. There's somebody saying Ohio State is an embarrassment. Crying Ryan Cooper 2.0, go blue, great win. I'm right with you on that. Ohio State is a pressure cooker. We'll take a few more coming in. Richard saying, look, you lose, you go to the locker room. You know what I saw, remember I was saying after the Michigan State game that they need to put in a rule. But I'm going to play this out in real time. Would my rule have helped here? I don't think so. So I might have to come up with another rule, an amendment to my, or an addendum to my rule. That's the way it's supposed to be. Like I thought that this would help with the crowd storming the field. The referee at the end of the game, before anybody spills onto the field, you have to wait until the official gives the go-ahead. And that is for the crowd. That is for the players. They could also do this in basketball. You know, fans don't go spilling out on the field when the game's still going on. So if you know that this is a rule and that you're going to jail, you're not going to be running out on the field. Now, the game was over. Michigan wanted to celebrate and put their flag in midfield. Nothing you could do with my rule. I can't put in a rule. Don't tear. Do I need to take an Ohio State player and say, look, you can't accost the opponent and try stealing something that is theirs or tearing down their equipment and stealing it at midfield because you lost the game and you're upset. This is a reflection. You know, unfortunately, you know, Ryan Day's got enough on his plate, but you can't get away from it. Even though it's probably really not his fault, it's his fault that he's out there, and that's what happened. So there you go. The police are being summoned in to see what's going to happen there, and there it is on how this goes. All right. Robert says, how could Zavada not be considered for best kicker? He didn't make the cut. You know, I was talking with Angelique Shingelis, who was someone who was voting on the Lou Groza. And when it came down to the kickers, there was the kicker for SMU, and somebody said, you know, they went to the Angel of the Big House and they asked her about Zavada, and she gave out the numbers. And you would think that the numbers would speak for themselves, but what it looked like happened, like the SMU kicker, he was in there. He missed 6 kicks this year, and Zavada has been from 50 plus. What's he made 6? There's really no comparison. Zavada, if you look at the length of his kicks and then, you know, his overall percentage of kicks, he would be the Lou Groza Award winner. But SMU's going to the college football playoff. So what I would think, without looking and examining all of it, is that you have to be on a winning team. And Michigan, when they were nominating, they were not a winning team and you didn't even know if they were going to get into a bowl. It's an individual award. So I'm not arguing that. I think that Zavada is the greatest kicker that I've ever seen. And I really liked Turner last year for Michigan. And the year before, I really liked Jake Moody. And I think Zavada's better. The only ones that he's missed this year, it was on the snap or the hold. He didn't miss any because of his own leg. It was the operation where he missed it. So, yeah, I don't know. That's what I think happened there. Because Michigan had a down year, they didn't want to give them anything. And now you can just sit back and say, hey, there it is. Robert says, I was unhinged when Warren threw that pick in the end zone on first down. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I thought that was Michigan's shot, the game that they'd played. You know, they was so intense up to that point. It was one of the great drives that you'll ever see. Davis Warren ran for a first down. He threw the incredible pass, and it was a great pass and an equally great catch by O'Leary. And then before that, it was Klein. And this was like, this is going to be story. It looked like it was going to be a storybook drive, one for the ages. And then he threw the pick. When they had been just running it up the middle, seemingly every down, now they're going to throw it. And the guy was open. Hansen was open by a mile, and somehow Warren missed him and threw it right to Sawyer. Yeah, felt like the game was over there. Unhinged is a good word for it. And our final one for today. Let's see. It is John, who says Ohio State should have lost against Penn State, Nebraska, and Indiana before Michigan. Now, look, Nebraska definitely was taking it to them. Penn State, there were some calls in that game. You know, they made the plays, and they killed Indiana. John, I don't know how you can make a case. If they just were playing a first quarter, Indiana played a good first quarter, but I'm going to have to not agree with that. Now, what we all can agree on is this was one of the great wins for Michigan, and it came at a great time in where they really needed a boost. They get the quarterback and Bryce Underwood. They get a win against Northwestern to get bowl eligible, and now they beat Ohio State in a down year, and things are looking really up for the Maize and Blue. We want to see you over on the Maize and Blue Review. This is going to be a great week. Recapping this victory, looking ahead to signing day on Wednesday. The transfer portal opens a week from Monday. It is going to be a fabulous December. And oh yeah, we got championship week next Saturday, college football playoffs right after that. And it's a great time to be alive. Thanks so much for joining us, all 5,200 of you right now. We will see you on Monday at 2:00. We'll look at the tape. Wednesday is going to be a great day, as mentioned, signing day. Who knows how many 5-stars are going to jump in with Underwood and Michigan. If you can't get them now, you got big bags of money. You just beat Ohio State, and you've got Bryce Underwood. Right? Sometimes it's easy. Now it's easy. I mean, all those other things, those are kind of hard. Like winning today, getting Bryce Underwood, but having the endless supply of cash. Michigan has all of that now, so it should be a great week. We'll see you on Monday. Michigan wins it 13-10 to upset Ohio State. Take care, everybody. We'll see you over on the Maize and Blue all day and all night. Good night.